Hello, my beautiful beings, and welcome back to Rose's Mystic Yoga. If you guys don't know who I am, I'm Rose, a yoga mystic teacher, and today I have a short anatomy class for you guys, a yoga anatomy class. And so I'll be going over a few different things that our body does and can do in certain yoga poses, explaining compression and tension. Compression and tension is the star of the show here today. I'm going to be teaching you guys the difference between the two, what they are, and how they can show up in different yoga poses. So if you guys are ready, I please encourage you guys to do this with me so that you guys can realize where your tension and compression stands and lies. So if you're ready, grab a mat and let's get started. So the first pose we are going to be going over is Adho Mukha Savasana, or downward facing dog. So with downward facing dog, so some muscles that we're using during Adho Mukha Savasana is the hamstrings, the triceps, the biceps, our abs. There's a lot of muscles that we are engaging and using. Those are the ones that usually hold tension. Some of the bones that can cause compression in this is the femur, the pelvis bone, your ankle bones, and definitely more. But I'm just going to give you guys a very basic explanation on these. I'm not going to go super in depth because we have a lot of bones, we have a lot of muscles, and every single person is different. So you're really just going to need to fill it out in your own body and realize, okay, yeah, that's my hamstrings, or okay, yeah, that's my bicep or my tricep. So back to the bones. So femur, pelvis bone, your scapula and your clavicle, that's in your shoulder. So let's go ahead and get into Adho Mukha Savasana and let's feel this out for ourselves. So being down in Adho Mukha Savasana, the things that I have noticed personally as a yoga teacher is it's usually the clavicle and the scapula that are getting in people's way and not too much of the femur or the pelvis, but it still is possible. So with recognizing the tension, or recognizing the difference between tension and compression. So tension is when our muscles are tense and tight, and then compression is when our bones meet and cannot bend anymore, basically. So with Adho Mukha Savasana, our chest is going down into the ground. Now usually people will find the compression here in the scapula and clavicle because so we have our collarbone, and so with our arm going up, we're gonna eventually hit that. We can't go any further, we're stuck. So some people in Adho Mukha Savasana, they have to go outward and go around that bone in order to go a little bit further back. Now, if it was tension, we'd be feeling it here throughout the shoulder and the arm. So usually if we feel a little pinch in there, that is compression. That is our bones hitting each other and not being able to have any more mobility. If we are feeling if we're feeling the tension and the stretch through the arm and down in the shoulder, that's tension. So I want you guys to come into Adho Mukha Savasana, really press your chest down into the ground and ask yourself, where am I feeling this? Am I feeling the tension? Am I feeling the compression? Am I feeling both? Now, when we do hit, or when we work through all of our tension, we will eventually hit compression. And so someone who is very flexible, limber, they might have not much tension to go through, but they will eventually hit compression. Or someone who is tense and tight would have a tension to go through in order to reach that compression. My tension is in my hamstrings and sometimes in my calf. Now, depending on how loose and untense your muscles are, even the bottom of your feet could be the reason why you don't get all the way down in Adho Mukha Savasana. So really sit here, press your shoulders down, and really feel where you're feeling and ask yourself, what am I feeling? So just a little recap on what compression and tension is. A little example that I can show you and that you guys can do for yourself right now too is the wrist. So if we were to flip the wrist back, where do you feel the stretch? If you're feeling it underneath, that means you have tension to go through. If you're feeling that pinch in between the bones, that's your compression. So for me, I'm starting to feel a little bit of compression, but I still feel a really nice stretch here in my arm, meaning that I have more tension to work through before I can hit that compression. So let's flip the arm the other way. Let's feel. So for me, I've hit compression. I feel my bones right here coming together. And when I say pinch, I don't mean like an aggressive pinch, but it definitely depends on how much you are compressing, because there is such thing as too much compression. Because once we hit our compression point, yes, we might be able to have someone else come and push us just a little bit more until we reach our full point. But please be cautious of that. It can be dangerous and cause injury. So just be cautious, listen to your body if you decide to push yourself a little bit more. But with the wrist back, I'm feeling this right in here, meaning my wrist cannot go any further back than what it's already doing. So let's talk about Paschimottanasana. So there are a few places we can run into tension and compression. We have the ankles and the hips. We aren't really working too much with our upper back or in our shoulders, but we can have tension there. But where the compression lies, it's not really an issue, because we aren't really moving our shoulders and our back in a way that it can truly compress, because we are putting our back forward. Now, our lower back can fall into compression with the pelvis and hip bones. So if we were to flex our feet back, inhale, arms come up to the sky, and then just fold it all the way forward. So for me, I feel tension. I feel it in my calf and in my hamstrings. I am a bit sore today, so I'm definitely feeling this more than I usually would. So with the compression here, I can still keep going. I have not reached compression. Now you're either going to reach compression in the hips or from your rib cage to your femur bones. So with the compression, like I said, you're either going to reach it in your hips or to where your rib cage touches your thighs, which in my case, I can go a little bit further. Now, if you do have compression where your thighs and your ribs meet, you can spread your legs just a tiny bit so that you're able to fold more and go just a little bit deeper and able to go past the thighs. So again, you might feel the tension on the back side, maybe a little bit in the lower back. But if you feel that pinch in here, or you just went down so far that you can't anymore, that's your compression. That's as far as you can go. That's just how your bones were made. Another thing about how our bones are made. So everyone is so different. Our bones are structured very differently. So something to keep in mind is when you see someone doing a pose like Urdhva Dhanasana, so our wheel pose. So if like someone was in a pose like that and like they can put their hands to their feet, that's because that's just how their bones were made. It was made to be able to bend and compress in that way. But some people would not be able to fully go into a wheel pose like that just because of how their bone structure is made. So please keep in mind that everyone's body is different and unique, and all that matters is that you listen to your body. Let's actually talk about compression in wheel pose. That most likely comes from our spine. So with our spine, our upper spine right here, our upper spine is our thoracic spine, and it does not give us much of a curve. If anything, it's our shoulders that are giving us that curve, but this part right here, it stays straight. So where we have the tension or compression is through the lumbar spine, which is the very back. So our spine splits in half, lumbar spine is down here. So I'm just gonna press up into wheel pose, and hopefully I'm not too sore and I can really show you guys where my compression hits. I have a very, very limber back, meaning I do not have much to stretch out and get through tension, but I do hit my compression. So let's see what happens today. Another reminder, every day is different. Some days you might hit your compression, some days you might be hitting your tension. It doesn't matter as long as it still feels good in your body. So if we were to easily come into this pose, we're on the ground, feet come as close as they can to the bum, our palms come to the upper shoulders, and then we press into the ground using our palms, gripping into the floor, pressing into the heels. We lift the hips up first. And so here, I'm already feeling tension in the front of my thighs, and that's because I'm very sore today. So that is a place that you can feel tension. Now, if I were to rise all the way up and then straighten my spine, you guys are really going to see where the bend is in my lumbar spine. Now, for me, I do feel myself being able to stretch a little bit more due to me having some tension in my abs here. Now, tight abs is going to be a main reason why people can't get into this pose. It's usually the abs, the hip flexors, the front of the thighs, and then a little bit in the shoulders. So you're getting your stretch to the front of the body. So if you have tension in the front of the body, wheel pose is going to be a little bit more tricky. But work through your tension, get your strength, and you'll eventually get there. Consistency is key. Self-discipline is key. So I'm going to come back up into wheel pose. So you guys see in my lower spine, my lumbar spine, that's what's bending. See that this part of my spine, my upper spine, it's straight. But the bottom, the lumbar spine, that's what's bending. So, like I said, I have not reached my compression yet because I have tension in my abs. Now we're going to be talking about Matsyasana or fish pose. So the way we get into that is we're just flat on the ground, but we're up on our shoulders. Now with this, we're going to have our shoulders rolled backwards so that it really opens up and exposes our chest. Now we're going to be talking about tension or compression in the neck. So with this pose, we bring the head back and try to place it onto the ground if possible. Now for me, I'm hitting compression. I can't go no more. My neck cannot go back further anymore. I might be able to with a slight little push, but you don't want to risk it and injure yourself sometimes. So with this, you're going to be feeling the tension, you're going to feel the tension in the front, and then the compression you're going to feel in the back. So if you're doing this and you're in this pose, really ask yourself, am I feeling tension and compression, or maybe a little bit of both? A pose that I do notice a lot of people hit compression in the hips is Warrior or Virabhadrasana. And I think it's because depending on how your bones and your hips and your pelvis is made and structured, we're not always able to bend forward, but we are able to go outward. Now, with compression in the hips, usually either you're one or other. You're either able to bend forward all the way, or you're able to move the hips outward and fold all the way. Now me, luckily, I've trained my body, I've conditioned my body to the way it is. I've been doing physical exercises since I was a very small child, meaning that I've built my body for it to do the things it can do now. I was a dancer when I was younger, I still am, and so with my hips, I'm very lucky that I have part of both worlds. I'm able to go out to the side and go all the way forward. I can have them forward and go all the way forward. So please don't be hard on yourself if you're like, oh, I'm one or the other. That's completely fine and that's completely normal. That's your gift and that's just your thing. That's how your body likes to function. Tension is when the muscles are tense, they're tight, they're trying to be stretched out. Compression is when the bones hit each other. It's where the bones come together and they just cannot move no more. So the next time that you're in your yoga practice or any type of stretching, really ask yourself, am I feeling tension or compression? Because that will be a big indicator on if you can go any further, if it's safe to go any further. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If so, please give it a thumbs up, a like, a comment, and please subscribe down below. I want to hear from you guys. If you guys have any questions or suggestions, please feel free to leave it down below or even privately message me. My messages are open to anyone. So if you guys have any questions, please reach out to me. And please keep a lookout for upcoming classes, meditations. I have so much that's about to come out and just happen. So I'm really excited to work with you guys and just have this yoga community build more and more. And until then, namaste, my beautiful beings.